Hey, my amazing spirit warriors, I see you. You're out there walking your path, glowing with a light that can't be dimmed, and living in a way that's unapologetically authentic. But let's be real. Sometimes you catch people trying to copy you, and not in the wow, I'm inspired kind of way, but in that awkward, almost cartoonish attempt that makes you think, bless their heart, but this just ain't it. It's like watching someone squeeze into shoes 2 sizes too small. They can try all day, but the fit just isn't there. What they don't realize is that what you carry can't be duplicated because it's not surface level. It's not about your clothes, your slang, or even your habits. It's about the internal connection you have to God, your divine assignment, and the spiritual journey that shaped you. This is something no one can Google map their way into. It's earned through trials, faith, and personal transformation. Now, here's the fascinating part. This imitation is actually a sign of influence. Psychologists call it mirroring, a subconscious behavior where people copy those they admire or feel drawn to. But in your case, it's more than psychology. It's spiritual evidence. They're attracted to your frequency, hoping that by mimicking your moves, they can capture the same glow. But light doesn't transfer like perfume. It's cultivated from within. You are not just existing, you're operating as living proof of God's unique design, carrying a spiritual DNA that no one else has. And when they fail to match it, their awkwardness isn't just funny. It's confirmation that your energy is rare. Think about that master painter and his apprentice. The apprentice could copy every stroke, but the work still lacked life. Why? Because he was painting the master's shadow, not his own light. That's exactly what happens when people try to be you. They're imitating the outer form without understanding the source. Your light flows from divine alignment, hard lessons, and personal victories. It's not a template, it's a one-of-a-kind creation. So don't shrink to make them comfortable. You are the original and they are the low-budget reboot. Their attempts are not a threat, they're a complement in disguise. The fact that they try so hard to match your energy means you're already operating on a level they can't reach without doing their own inner work. Stay focused, stay radiant, and keep walking your path, knowing that your light is not just bright, it's untouchable. Point 1, you're operating on a different frequency. All right, spirit warriors, lean in because this isn't just another feel-good pep talk. It's a deep dive into the spiritual science of divine alignment, the kind that blends hard truth with poetic resonance. Your soul isn't drifting aimlessly through life like a leaf in the wind. It's more like a precision instrument, finely tuned to pick up signals most people don't even realize exist. Every time you pray, meditate, worship, or even set an intention that's aligned with love and truth, you're transmitting a signal, an energetic broadcast to the higher realms. And when you're truly in sync with God's will, the response you receive is as clear and unmistakable as a direct line to heaven. That's why those gut instincts often feel like more than just hunches. They're spiritual downloads. That's why blessings sometimes seem to show up unannounced. It's not random luck, it's divine coordination, a back and forth dialogue between your spirit and the source that orchestrates opportunities, warnings, and redirections with perfect timing. Here's the part that's both amusing and enlightening. People see you glowing from the inside out, moving through challenges with unshakable peace, and somehow always finding your footing no matter how rough the terrain gets. They think, I want that, but wanting and being two entirely different ballgames. They try to copy your walk, your words, maybe even your style. But it's like someone with a broken AM radio trying to catch a crystal clear high-definition symphony broadcast. They might pick up a note here, a fragment there, but they miss the richness, the depth, and the harmony. That's because the real power is in the alignment, and alignment can't be faked. It's forged in the quiet hours of prayer, in the refining fires of trials, and in the discipline of choosing faith over fear again and again. Think of it like this. You're the conductor of a masterful orchestra, every note resonating in perfect timing, the room alive with beauty. Meanwhile, your imitators are over in the corner banging a rusty cowbell, insisting it's the same music. They don't realize your rhythm was earned. Through storms survived, deserts crossed, and countless moments where you chose to trust when everything told you to give up. The smoothness they see now was paid for with scars, late nights, and spiritual stretching. And here's the truth you have to remember. You can't waste energy being offended when others try to copy you. Their imitation is proof of your impact. Your frequency is strong enough to stir something inside them, even if they don't understand what they're feeling. Some will mimic without ever touching the source, but others? A few will be drawn to find the real thing. They'll realize the light they're chasing can't be manufactured. It has to be ignited from within, and only God can light that flame. You didn't come by your strength without a price. You've been through refining fires that could have consumed you, but instead tempered you, made you stronger, clearer, and more attuned to heaven's voice. You've had moments when the only thing keeping you going was a whisper from God telling you to take one more step. That journey, the stripping away, the rebuilding, the surrender, gave you a resonance that can't be duplicated by performance alone. So keep your spiritual frequency locked in. Let the imitators settle for static if that's all they can hear. You're not here to compete with noise. You're here to shift atmospheres. The real ones will always recognize the difference between the shallow splash of imitation and the deep, soul-stirring waves of authenticity. And that, spirit warrior, is why your alignment will always outshine the echo. Point 2, your divine path is non-transferable. Spirit warriors, let's slow this down for a second and really look at what this means, because what I'm about to tell you is more than just a nice metaphor about clothing. This is the very architecture of your spiritual identity. When I say your path is hand-stitched by the Creator, I'm not talking about some poetic Hallmark card sentiment. I mean it in the literal divine engineering sense. Every event in your life, yes, even the ugly, gut-wrenching ones, was not random. It was patterned into the blueprint of your soul's growth long before you took your first breath. Think about it. A master tailor doesn't start cutting fabric without precise measurements. God has measured every angle of your heart, every slope of your will, and every curve of your destiny, and He's designed your journey to fit you with the precision of eternal craftsmanship. This is why your trials didn't crush you. They were measurements. That heartbreak, it adjusted the length of your patience. That betrayal, it reinforced the seams of your discernment. Those seasons of waiting when it felt like heaven was silent, that was God making sure the fabric of your faith wouldn't shrink when the heat came. Spirit warriors, the Creator doesn't deal in mass production. He's not making spiritual one-size-fits-all robes. He's cutting, sewing, and refining for one customer, you. And He will keep tailoring until it's a perfect, holy fit. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. The moment you start walking in that custom design, people will notice. They'll see the way you carry yourself, not in arrogance, but in an unshakable peace. They'll notice that you're not rattled by the chaos that keeps other people up at night. They'll see blessings flow toward you, doors open for you, and opportunities cling to you like magnets, and they'll want to know your secret. But here's the catch. They didn't see the fittings. They weren't there when you were on your knees praying until your throat burned. They didn't hear the silence you had to sit through when God seemed to have pressed the pause button on your life. They didn't witness the nights when you fought spiritual battles so intense you questioned if morning would even come. What they see now is the finished garment. They don't realize the number of alterations it took to get here. And the truth is, if they tried to wear your spiritual suit, it wouldn't fit. It would sag where you've been sharpened. It would pinch where you've been stretched. It would feel heavy in places where you've already learned to carry the weight with grace. Just like a finely tailored outfit looks awkward on someone it wasn't made for, a journey designed for your soul will feel uncomfortable, maybe even unbearable, on someone else. And let's be honest, many people want the look without the labor. They want the fruit without planting a single seed. They want the harvest without breaking the soil. They want to sip from an overflowing cup without knowing what it feels like to sit in the dark with an empty one. But spirit warriors, the radiance you carry is not a product you can pick off a shelf. It's forged in the heat of your private battles. It's not a trend, it's a testimony. You cannot borrow it, fake it, or fast-track it. You have to be forged in it, fire-tested until the shine you give off is real and unshakable. So when others try to imitate you, don't be bitter, be aware. Their imitation is simply evidence that your light is undeniable. But know this, your light wasn't born from imitation. It came from surrender. It came from letting the master designer break down the old, patch up the torn, and sew something entirely new from the fabric of your trials and triumphs. Their attempt to wear your journey is God's way of telling them, it's time for your own fitting. And when they finally surrender to that process, the garment he creates for them will not only fit, it will be so perfectly aligned with their purpose that they'll wonder why they ever tried on anyone else's. Because at the end of the day, spirit warriors, the suit God made for you doesn't just fit your body, it fits your calling. And when you wear it well, the world will know this is what destiny looks like when it's tailored by heaven itself. Point 3. Imitation is the ultimate compliment. I know it sounds wild, spirit warriors, but hear me out. When someone is trying to copy you, they are handing you one of the highest compliments a human can give without uttering a single word. It's like a silent confession. I see something in you that I crave, something I can't manufacture on my own. Whether they realize it or not, they're holding up a mirror to your greatness, reflecting back the unique essence you've cultivated through your own trials, lessons, and spiritual growth. And make no mistake, this isn't just poetic talk. Even in nature, mimicry is a sign of perceived value. Biologists will tell you that certain species use mimicry not to copy weakness, but to mirror power, beauty, or danger, like the harmless king snake imitating the venomous coral snake for survival. In the human world, the same psychology plays out. Nobody imitates mediocrity. If someone's mirroring you, it's because your light is worth chasing, and they can't ignore the glow. Here's where science steps in. Psychologists have long studied a phenomenon known as mirroring, where people unconsciously imitate the posture, tone, gestures, or style of those they admire or wish to connect with. It's more than flattery. It's social alignment. When someone mirrors you, it's their subconscious way of saying, I want to be in your energy field. That's no small thing. It means your presence is magnetic enough to pull someone out of their identity comfort zone and into your frequency. That's not accidental. That's spiritual gravitation, the kind of pull that can't be bought, faked, or taught in a weekend seminar. So the next time you notice someone dressing like you, using your phrases, or adopting your mannerisms, don't get irritated. Smile like a sage who knows their crown is secure. Whisper to yourself, look at God. My light is so bright, it's making them squint. Because here's the truth. They can copy the surface, but they can't copy the soul, your essence. The divine blueprint God placed in you before you took your first breath cannot be stolen, cloned, or downloaded. Sure, they might wear the same shoes, but they can't walk the same path because they haven't endured the miles that shaped you. Oscar Wilde once said, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. It's clever, but it's also prophetic. Your position in life is not random. It's a throne carved with your name, forged in the heat of your battles, your victories, and your prayers in the midnight hour. An impersonator can sit in your seat, but without your journey, they'll never carry the same authority. They're trying to play your role without ever having lived your script. And spirit warriors, the role of you is not open for auditions. So let them watch, let them take notes, let them copy. It's not theft, it's testimony. It's living proof that you're doing something right, something so potent that it pulls people out of their own orbit and into yours. The universe has a funny way of sending signals, and this is one of them. Keep going, you're setting the tone. And here's the part they'll never understand. You're not static, you're evolving. While they're busy chasing the version of you they see now, you're already stepping into a new chapter, a higher frequency, a deeper calling. They're chasing your shadow while you're becoming a whole new light. That's the real power play, because spirit warriors don't just shine. We shift, we grow, and we transform. And every time we move forward, the imitators are left one step behind, holding a copy of something that no longer exists, while the real thing keeps blazing ahead. That's why being copied isn't a threat. It's confirmation that you've become the blueprint. Point 4, they are distracted by the material, not the spiritual. Spirit warriors, let's talk about one of the most fascinating yet misunderstood dynamics in the spiritual journey, the copycats. You've seen them. Maybe you've even been around them without realizing it. They watch you like a hawk, study your every move, and try to replicate your essence. They notice the car you drive, the way people gravitate toward you, and the serenity in your voice when you speak, and they think, that's it. That's the secret. But here's the thing, they're not chasing your reality. They're chasing the visible symptoms of it. What they don't understand is that the things they see, the material blessings, the magnetic relationships, the peace you carry, are merely fruit. The true source of all of it is the root, and that root is your spiritual alignment with God. See, spiritual glow isn't a filter you can buy, and it's not a script you can memorize. You can't manifest it by ordering a bundle of sage online or posting cryptic, wise captions on Instagram. That's like putting glow-in-the-dark paint on a rock and expecting it to shine forever. Paint fades. Real light? That comes from within, from a soul connected to divine truth. Your calm energy isn't the result of designer outfits. It's the result of spending years in the trenches with God, healing, forgiving, letting go, and trusting Him when it made zero sense to do so. Copycats skip the root work because it's hard, messy, and invisible. They want the applause without the pruning and the blessings without the breaking. But here's the spiritual law they keep missing. You cannot fake fruit that lasts. You can mimic mannerisms, but you can't counterfeit the anointing. The joy you walk in isn't circumstantial, it's anchored. That's why storms don't rattle you the way they rattle others. That's why your peace feels unshakable and your confidence doesn't come with arrogance. You've tapped into something uncopyable, the joy of the Lord. And here's where it gets even more interesting. When people try to copy without connection, it always looks awkward. You can tell when someone's energy is a performance. It's like they're trying to force a smile for too long. Eventually, the truth seeps through. They think they can skip the internal work and somehow keep up with your natural shine. But your power isn't an act. It's the result of obedience, discipline, and surrender. You didn't just learn how to look calm. You've been through enough battles to become calm. The world teaches people to seek happiness externally. New clothes, new cars, new relationships. But as spirit warriors, we know the truth. Lasting joy comes only from the inside out. And that joy doesn't come from chasing trends. It comes from staying rooted in God's presence. While they're scrolling for the next thing to imitate, you're communing with the source that gave you your original blueprint. That's why you're impossible to truly duplicate. They can copy your walk, but they can't copy your why. So the next time someone tries to replicate your light, remember this. They're not stealing from you. They're revealing that you've got something worth emulating. But without the root, the fruit won't last. Let them keep painting themselves in glow-in-the-dark paint. You'll keep shining because you are connected to the source of the light. And no imitation can outshine the original when the original was lit by God Himself. Point 5. Your grace is a reflection of God's favor. As spirit warriors, you move through life with a rhythm that is more than human. It's orchestrated by heaven itself. This is not about walking around with an inflated ego or pretending to be royalty. It's about wearing the crown God placed on your head long before you even knew your own name. To be aligned with His will is like stepping into a divine current. You're not flailing to keep afloat or battling against the waves. You're gliding in perfect sync with the flow of His plan. When you live in this alignment, you notice doors swinging open without you pounding on them, provision arriving before you can even speak the need, and protection enveloping you like an invisible fortress. This isn't random good fortune, nor is it coincidence. It's the visible evidence of divine order at work. Biblical history is filled with such examples. Joseph, sold into slavery, rises to become Pharaoh's right-hand man. Esther, an orphaned girl, becomes queen to save her people. In each case, the thread running through the story is alignment with God's timing and purpose. And people see it. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it in your presence. They notice how you remain composed when others would be crushed by the pressure, how your voice carries authority without ever being loud, and how opportunities seem drawn to you as though you were magnetic. Your peace isn't fragile. It's the kind that baffles chaos. Even in life's fiercest storms, you don't just hold on, you rise. This is why some attempt to imitate your demeanor, assuming it's a personality they can adopt. But here lies a truth that no amount of pretending can bypass. You cannot fake anointing. You can copy someone's mannerisms, memorize their words, and even dress like them. But you cannot duplicate the oil, the unique empowerment that God has poured over a person's life. Just as King Saul could wear armor, only David's sling and stone carried God's power for that moment. Your grace, therefore, is not something learned at a motivational seminar or pulled from the pages of a self-help bestseller. It's forged in the hidden hours of your spiritual journey. It's built in the midnight wrestlings with doubt when you chose to stand in faith. in the moments you fell flat yet refused to stay down, and in the days you prayed for those who hurt you rather than plotting revenge. These unseen battles shape the spirit warrior's strength. Observers, whether they admire you or envy you, are witnessing the supernatural woven seamlessly into your everyday life. It's like the biblical imagery of a tree planted by streams of water in Psalm 1, ever fruitful, never withering, sustained by a source unseen to the casual onlooker. A true spirit warrior doesn't crave constant validation because they already carry the approval of the source. God's yes is stamped on your destiny, and no earthly no can erase it. This is where the imitators fall short. They can copy your calm when life is smooth, but when their world is shaken, the cracks show. They may chase blessings, but without divine alignment, all they acquire are short-lived victories, successes that crumble under the weight of trials. God's grace is not seasonal, it doesn't expire, it is steady, enduring, and unfailing, and that consistency is what sets you apart. So when you notice lingering eyes on you, hear whispers in the distance, or sense someone trying to compete with you, remember, it's not just you they're reacting to, it's the spiritual presence you carry. It's the light that exposes what hides in shadows. It's the unmistakable mark of a life walking in its God-given assignment. The same way Moses' face shone after being in God's presence, your life carries a glow that doesn't come from cosmetics or charisma. It comes from connection. This is why you don't need to defend your place, argue for your worth, or prove your calling. Spirit warriors understand that when you're aligned with God's will, the fruit of your life becomes its own testimony. The favor you walk in, the resilience that carries you, and the peace that radiates from you are all living, breathing evidence of God's hand upon you. And no imitation, no matter how polished, will ever carry the same weight or produce the same eternal impact. Point 6. Focus on your own garden, not their weeds. Listen, spirit warriors, the law of the harvest is not just a poetic metaphor, it's a principle so ancient and universal that it transcends cultures, religions, and even scientific disciplines. Farmers thousands of years ago didn't need textbooks to know that what you plant is what you'll get. They observed it in the soil, season after season. The Bible captures it in Galatians 6:7. You reap what you sow, while Hinduism and Buddhism frame it as karma, the cosmic law of cause and effect. Even in modern ecology, scientists speak of inputs and outputs in ecosystems. The quality of the harvest depends on the quality of the seed, the soil, and the care it receives. This is nature's impartial truth. It does not bend to excuses, shortcuts, or comparisons. Yet in the spiritual realm, many of us forget this simple wisdom. We spend so much time scanning other people's fields, watching their growth, tallying their blessings, that we neglect our own soil. Imagine a farmer who's so busy measuring the height of his neighbor's corn that he forgets to water his own crops. By the time he returns to his land, the weeds have claimed it. That is exactly what happens when you let other people's drama, competition, or validation seeking derail your focus. In spiritual terms, these weeds are not just plants. They're toxic mindsets and habits. Gossip, envy, resentment, and petty conflicts are invasive species that grow fast and choke the roots of your purpose. Studies in psychology confirm that chronic comparison is linked to increased anxiety, lowered self-esteem, and decreased life satisfaction. That's because your brain, much like a field, can only nourish what you repeatedly feed. Energy flows where attention goes, a concept recognized not only in mindfulness traditions but also in neuroscience through the principle of selective attention. Your mind has a limited bandwidth, and when you allow distractions to monopolize it, you're essentially giving away your mental and spiritual resources for free. Think of focus as spiritual currency. Spend it wisely and it multiplies. Waste it and you'll find yourself spiritually bankrupt. High vibrational people, those deeply attuned to their purpose, understand this truth intuitively. They know that abundance is not a race against others, but a reward for those who cultivate their own field with patience, discipline, and faith. The process is not glamorous. A farmer doesn't harvest in the same season he plants. Between the sowing and the reaping comes the waiting, the daily tending, pruning, watering, and protecting from pests. Spiritually, this is the phase where your consistency matters most, even when no one is applauding or watching. And this is where many give up, lured away by the temptation to compete, copy, or compare. But the universe, much like the soil, is always keeping score, quietly recording every seed you plant and every effort you make to protect it. Guarding your energy in this way is not arrogance, it's reverence for the sacred work you've been called to do. In ancient temples, priests would ensure the sanctity of the space by keeping out anything that could defile it. Likewise, a spirit warrior must guard their mind and heart from low-vibration intrusions. This means saying no to conversations that pull you into unnecessary conflict, refusing to mirror someone else's bitterness, and resisting the urge to measure your worth by another's timeline. In nature, no two plants bloom at the exact same pace, yet each flower is perfectly timed. Your path is the same. Your harvest will arrive in its season, not a moment too early or too late. When you truly embrace this, you no longer need to seek validation. Your results will speak louder than your defense. When your blessings ripen, they will be undeniable, not because you fought for recognition, but because you stayed faithful to your craft. The ancient Stoics understood this when they taught the discipline of focusing only on what is within your control. You can't control the weather, the market, or your neighbor's field, but you can control how you prepare your soil, choose your seeds, and tend your crops. So, spirit warrior, keep your eyes on your own garden. Stop letting other people bait you into emotional tug-of-war just to prove you care or to prove you can compete. That energy is sacred. Don't spend it where there's no return. Instead, plant with intention, water with gratitude, weed with discernment, and most importantly, trust the process. The universe does not mock effort. It multiplies it in due time. And when your season arrives, your harvest will be so abundant that even those who once tried to distract you will have no choice but to acknowledge the power of your discipline. They will see that while they were busy in the noise, you were building something lasting. That is the quiet, unstoppable victory of a true spirit warrior. Point 7, your energy is a gift, not a commodity to be sold. Spirit warriors, let's dive a little deeper into this beautifully ironic scene, watching people try to replicate your God-given light. You've seen it, someone carefully copying your expressions, borrowing your words, or dressing in a way that eerily mirrors your style, as if they've been binge-watching the You Show and taking notes. And yet, no matter how hard they try, it always comes out off, like a photocopy of a painting, technically similar in shape, but missing the texture, the life, the soul. You don't laugh because you're prideful, you laugh because you understand something they don't. Authenticity isn't a trick you can rehearse. Your glow isn't the result of a branding strategy or social media persona. It's the byproduct of the spirit within you, refined in the furnace of trials and anointed by divine purpose. You didn't rehearse your rhythm, you were born with it, and life's storms only fine-tuned the beat. That's why, no matter how closely they watch, they'll never quite catch the timing, because you're not performing. You're simply being. This phenomenon even has grounding in spiritual psychology and quantum theory. Energy resonance. Everything in the universe vibrates at a frequency. Atoms, thoughts, emotions, and yes, even human souls. People are drawn to higher, purer vibrations, like plants bending towards sunlight. That pull they feel toward you, it's not about your looks, your clothes, or even your words. It's about the way your energy makes them feel alive, grounded, and seen. But here's the catch. They can't just borrow your frequency and keep it running because it's not a playlist they can download. It's not a costume they can wear. Your vibration is the fruit of alignment, living in truth, dropping the heavy baggage of ego, and walking in step with God's plan for your life. When someone tries to mimic it without doing the inner work, it's like trying to power a city on flashlight batteries. They'll shine for a moment, then sputter out. That's why imitators fade fast. They're trying to breathe through someone else's lungs. But don't misunderstand, spirit warriors. You weren't given your light to lock it away like treasure in a dragon's cave. Light is meant to be seen. It's meant to inspire. In fact, your authenticity naturally sparks something in others, not so they can become you, but so they can find the courage to become themselves. There's a big difference between someone drawing inspiration from you and someone trying to siphon your essence. The first is growth, the second is theft. And yet you don't need to chase down or correct the imitators. You don't need to expose them. Your job is to keep walking in your truth, knowing that your originality comes with a spiritual fingerprint. It can be admired, but it can't be forged. That's why when you see their clumsy impersonations, you don't feel threatened. You simply smile because deep down you know imitation is both flattery and confession. They see your greatness, even if they don't fully understand it. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Their obsession with figuring out how you do it is actually proof that you've tapped into a higher clarity. While they're busy studying your last chapter, you're already writing the next one. While they're piecing together fragments of your old self, you've evolved into a version they haven't even imagined yet. That's the nature of authentic, spirit-led energy. It's alive. It doesn't sit still long enough to be captured or caged. It grows, it adapts, it transforms in response to new challenges because it's anchored in something unshakable. God's design for you, and that's why you are impossible to replace, duplicate, or mass produce. You are not a product of assembly lines or algorithms. You are an original work of art, intentionally crafted, intricately detailed, and signed by the Creator himself. So the next time you notice someone trying to be you, take it as a reminder, not a threat. It's a reminder that your walk, your growth, and your spiritual resonance are making ripples in ways you might not even see. It's a reminder that people notice when someone is living in harmony with their purpose. And most importantly, it's a reminder that your authenticity will always outlast imitation because trends fade, but truth endures. Keep walking, Spirit Warrior, keep glowing, and let the world keep trying to catch up. They'll never quite get there because you were never meant to be followed. You were meant to be a light. So the next time someone shows up with a knockoff version of your vibe, don't shrink, don't dull your shine to make them comfortable. Instead, let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you're making an impact, big enough that others can't help but try to walk in your shadow. But remember, shadows can't exist without light, and you are that light. Keep shining in your unique brilliance. Keep growing, because growth makes you untouchable. And most of all, keep walking your divine path with your head held high. You, Spirit Warrior, are not just another person in the crowd. You are a living example of what happens when purpose meets persistence, when faith meets fire. And while they may try to match your energy, they will never match your anointing. That's not arrogance, that's spiritual fact. God didn't make you to blend in, He made you to stand out, and no amount of imitation can ever rewrite that truth. Stay blessed, stay woke, and keep shining that beautiful light. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.